whatever business you own, you don't cater for everyone. So here's the exact process on how we create our podcast episodes. Everything starts with finding the right guest. One important factor is that we don't look for the numbers, we look for the alignment. Same values, same energy, and a story that will genuinely help our viewer. So the best part is choose alignment over popularity. Step 2 is the pre-episode conversation. Before we hit record, we always love to meet the guest. No cameras, just a real and valuable conversation. This helps us understand his story and his values that then we can portray into sharing with our audience. The most important thing is to understand his story and what values he can provide to our audience, which will then lead to storytelling dash some lessons that you can learn along the way. We then focus on episode guides. We don't use scripts, we use guides. The top elite people around the world, before any meeting, before any conversation, they sit down and prepare what they're gonna say in advance. That's why we took this into consideration before sitting down with each and every guest, where we will find key topics, story prompts, and also guide us from 0 to 100 throughout the whole conversation. You can say these are sort of notes. So they're notes for the conversation to keep going, running smoothly and as natural as possible. So the goal of this is guide the conversation, not a script. Step 4 is creating the space. Now, creating the space takes you through a lot. It may take a lot of time, but at the end, it's so worth it. You feel relieved and you feel like you're ready to start. From hydration to visual to anything that needs to be done is done 2 hours to an hour before the episode. The goal is very simple. Our vibe, our setup is to make the guest as comfortable as possible and make him feel like home. And also this leads to a relaxed and comfortable conversation that also matches a home vibe conversation. This is where it gets a bit tough. Recording is done, we arrive home, and now it's time to start the magic. After recording, we sit down, obviously have a break because you'll be dead tired after a 2-hour conversation. Sit down, edit, and start matching the conversation together. This will last around a week, so from that week we managed to create thumbnails, titles, descriptions, clips, reels, anything to do with the podcast for the marketing reasons to push the podcast out there. That's super important that you don't just sit down and discuss, then you have to market it for people to watch and get out value from what they're listening to. In a matter of fact, every piece of content is done with intention, not just to post, to deliver as much value as possible. So the goal of this step is to turn one episode into many assets. This is where you must execute most. During that 1 week, we don't just upload and hope. That's where we have to figure out how we're gonna make people watch the episode. We also focus on who this will hit. The most important value out of our content is that it's very specific people, so we don't cater to everyone. That's what you have to understand. If you're creating something, whatever it is, if it's sneakers, if it's a podcast, whatever business you own, you don't cater for everyone. So manage to find that niche of people to then push the content to that audience, and that's where you see the real results. To close off, there's so much to discuss about this because there's so much more to this, but I had to brief a bit into what goes down behind the scenes. If you didn't understand, one episode takes us around 1 to 2 weeks to edit. It depends what volume of content we can provide through this episode. Make sure that if you create content, don't just focus on posting, focus as much as possible on distributing. If you want to start creating content, if it's a podcast, if it's a conversation, if it's short form content, medium form content, whatever you want to post, start simple, be intentional, and trust the process. In the first few episodes, I did it all on my own. It took me 3 weeks, 4 weeks to upload one episode, which then is leading now to diversifying the work. So make sure to trust the process and success will come by time.